So we can start. It's noon, 2 minutes past noon, and just so for people to give people an idea, uh, Jerome, he likes to be called Bart. He was a Kickstarter backer of my campaign last year, and he selected the level to do a Google Hangout. And so we just been chatting the other day, and we figured let's do it live, and you guys can watch, and then I'll maybe do some editing. I may not. I may just do a timestamp and tell everybody where they can skip ahead to when we actually start talking, and then he's just gonna grill me and hold my feet to the fire. But no, before I get started, I told you the other day, but I really appreciate your backing and everybody's backing. I mean, this is definitely a hobby for me, and I have a blast doing it. And I think even if I had no viewers, I would still do it, at least for the foreseeable future. But I appreciate it because it makes getting to Gen Con especially easier, and I feel like your guys' help has helped me get lighting and upgrade my equipment and stuff, and I'm happier with the videos than I was definitely a year ago. Like I see some of these other guys that are more professional, and especially like Watch It Played is one of my favorites to watch, and the production value and everything. I was like, I'm green with envy when I watch some of that stuff, and it's like, man, mine are horrible compared to these. It's like I got this dingy office with this couch, and the lighting is. Yeah, I've got to wait for sunlight, and most of the time I can do videos late at night, and so the lighting's just horrible there. And now I've got all that set up, and I just, I feel better about the videos, and that's because you guys enjoy watching it and stuff, and we're able to be supportive, and I appreciate it. Anyway.
Yeah, it's not a problem at all. There's a few of you guys that I really like personally, and y'all help me kind of shape what games I want to buy. And I think even you said in your top 10 disappointments, you didn't know how many people really use yours for purchasing, and I have to say, you'd probably be surprised how many people kind of look to you and a couple other guys that maybe kind of seem to fit the type of games that I like, and that's why I like you, and like you mentioned Rodney from Watch It Played, and Dead Viking, and even like guys like Rondo, Richard, I guess that's Richard, that Rondo runs through. Those are the ones I really look at, just kind of see, get an idea of how the game plays and whether or not it'd be something kind of worth my money. So.
Yeah, that's I was kind of alluded to that a little bit. That's a bizarre position to be in, right? I give an opinion, and then somebody's going, "Well, I'm going to buy this or not buy it based on what you said." It's I mean, it's not that big a deal. It's just a game, but it's kind of like I feel like a little bit of responsibility, which is kind of scary. But on the other hand, I'm gonna miss. It's gonna be varying for each person. I'm gonna miss with some people and be all right on target with other people, and so they may get a game and go, "Oh, this is horrible. Why did he like this?" Or I may say a game's horrible, and they get it. No, this is actually fun. But I think for the most part, after you do enough reviews and things, people kind of get a good sense for you, and they can kind of tell how accurate I'm going to be for them. So I just kind of. Whatever. Just give the opinion and move on. But yeah, it's a weird spot to be in. I had people tell me that, "Oh, I got this based on your review," and that makes me more. That's actually very rewarding when I say, "Oh, I bought this because of your review, and we love it." Most recently, like I did review Battlelore, and I've gotten a lot of feedback from that. "Oh, I bought it. Me and my wife love it. Me and my brother love it," or something, and they're having a good time. So, but. On the other hand, I don't really feel like I need to take any credit because the game itself was what's so great. It's not really my opinion on it. The game exists, and I'm just here showing it to you. And some games are easy to do videos on. Sometimes you get a compliment. And it's like, "Hey, thanks for doing the video. You really well done, this and that." And I'm like, well, the game is so easy to relate to you, so it's not really anything that I'm doing. It's just that the game translates so easy.
Right.
And I think that's why we see a lot of videos nowadays, is because a lot of these games, they really translate through video and YouTube and things, and it's just a format set up really, really nicely to learn about them.
One of the things my wife and I do, aside from board games, is we host what's called house concerts back twice a year. We bring in artists from out of town, and we put them up, feed them, take care of them while they're here, and everyone else comes and they throw money in the pot, and the artist gets 100% of the money. So it's a smaller artist that really can't tour, like go from bar to bar and won't make any money. And they'll make a good chunk of money at our house, and we put them up for free and all that. Cool. And it's kind of the same thing, though, because we'll pick an artist, and for a few months, we picked this artist, we're locked in. I really hope these people come and like this guy or woman. But then afterwards, they come to you and go, wow, that was so great. And we just kind of brought them here, and the artist did their magic.
Right.
So,
exactly.
It's like kind of the same type of thing. You kind of get some congratulations, and really all we did was bring them here. So
right. Exactly. So they play at your house, or?
Yeah, they play in our backyard. They remember we live in Florida, so most of the time it's nice. So
yeah.
The artist plays on our deck, and everyone sits in the yard. Everybody brings a lawn chair, and we've had up to 80 people before.
Wow.
So
that's neat. I hadn't heard of that before. That's pretty cool.
It's mostly folk, Americana type artists, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
But we've last lady who played last fall was Mary Gaucher, and she's been nominated for Grammys and stuff like that before. So we really enjoy it. So
nice.
You can get some pretty amazing artists these days that if you're willing to kind of fill in the spot for them, okay, they're going from here to here, and we're kind of in between, and we can kind of give them a free place to stay for the night. They're willing to not charge as much as they would like for a bigger venue. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
So
sort of grassroots,
Absolutely, yeah.
Ticketmaster.
Yeah, but the artist gets 100% of the proceeds. They can sell shirts and CDs, and they can make a good chunk of money in one night, and all they had to pay was gas getting here and to and from. So
interesting.
So, but again, that kind of goes back to the thing where I hope this works.
Yeah, no.
So far, we've had, I think we're coming up on 16 now, and we do 2 a year. And so far, we've had great reviews for all of them. Everybody's enjoyed the artists, but you always wonder about that one artist that kind of annoys or ticks people off or does something that no one likes. But so far, we've been good. So.
Nice.
I guess you said it was about as cold as we're getting ready. I was telling you, it's here in Florida. It's going to get cold tonight for us. In Florida here, 20 degrees is cold. And you said it's about the same up there?
Yeah, we're in a heat wave here, so it's about 30 degrees in the day, and then it's going to get down in the 20s and stuff. We had our spell a couple weeks ago before Christmas where it was down in the 0 range and stuff like that. Yeah. So
I moved here in '99. I haven't seen snow since, and I don't miss it. So. You talked about, because at first I saw earlier that you talked about you getting rid of your blacklist, where you kind of the games you really don't like, and then I was happy to see you're kind of moving to video. You want to talk about that, Ian?
Yeah, sure. It's just this like the whole thing for me is it just kind of I'm kind of learning as I go with how to do the thing, and like one thing with the blacklist I mentioned on that list was I got flack a little bit sort of privately about why don't you do any negative reviews? You're just doing shill reviews and stuff, which I don't think that perception is widely held, but the fact that the perception could be out there at all kind of irritated me because there are games like I don't like at all, and and I don't want to be a negative person in general. I don't find that constructive, but on the other hand, I don't want to just gloss over things, and I think that people should know what you don't like so they can kind of figure out who you are, and and they should be able to feel comfortable with themselves and know what they don't like so they can figure out who they are. And so I just kind of, I've done some written reviews on the Geek as well, kind of like retrospectives of games I already did videos of. I haven't done those in a while because I do have I'm kind of rambling here, but I do have a strong sense that games, definitely evolve. A lot of these reviews are after like 2 or 3 plays. Sometimes more, but usually not. And definitely when you play a game like 10 times or 20 times, your thoughts on it are going to change. But, also you'll be putting out videos like a year or 2 after the game's released and nobody cares. So I've been kind of trying to learn about, just figure out and try different things. And so the written reviews are part of that, and the blacklist is kind of part of that. But it's just a kind of a gear shift in my head as far as like sitting down and writing a review is very different than recording a review, and some ways easier, some ways harder. But so I just said, well, there was like a lot of games recently that I think the last one I actually wrote down was Dungeon Roll, which I didn't put on the list for various reasons, but since then I've played some other games I didn't like, like Nations and Amerigo and things. And I was like, man, I just don't want to sit down and like write the review and put this all together. I'd rather do a video of it. But then again, I get back to the thing with the videos, like I'm not going to give you a walk through the game. And I know that's just probably, I could see people wouldn't agree with this, but I'm not going to walk through the game until you don't buy this. But then it's kind of like people make up their mind for themselves. But there's enough video guys doing it, so if you want to know how the game plays, you can go watch their video. So I figured I would just, I was going to try it. Maybe in a couple of months I'll do another blacklist video of a couple of games that I played recently, and should be able to be a little bit more descriptive about the reasons I didn't like it and stuff. So, if people want to know how it plays, they can always read the rule book and things. And it's a very difficult issue because a lot of people they live through. Like Rado's thing, they live through the playthroughs and the rules overviews, and they just want that. They don't really care what I have to think about, in my opinion, because I think one thing that's interesting is about, I talking about how you play a game multiple times and your thoughts are going to change. I think the longer you play games and the more different games you play, the more like in tune you get with, at least for me, with what I like, and a lot of times I've recently like seen a game and like I have a hunch and the hairs on my arms stand up and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna like this. But then other people will say it, I'm like, okay, I'll try it, and then I end up like not liking it. And it's like, man, I should have just listened to myself. Because I think after a while you kind of craft your own gamer voice or whatever. So anyway, I kind of rambled on that, but yeah, I'm just gonna switch to doing the blog posts or whatever, and just easier to get out.
Yeah. I'm totally about doing the negative, hearing the negative ones you don't really care for.
Yeah.
These games aren't cheap these days, and also most of us don't have unlimited storage space or shelving. We have one pretty decent sized shelving, and we're getting to the point where, okay, we're not playing this anymore. Let's yank that and trade it off or sell it or whatever, and then put something up that we're actually going to play.
Yeah.
So, do you kind of limit yourself to those two shelves, or?
Well, let's say move. If I can move it, there we go. Yeah, that's it there. I had, this is not just my office here. My wife does her choreography in here, and my son comes in here and uses it. So I had them all underneath we have like a closet underneath some stairs there, and it was just getting kind of unwieldy. And it would kind of grow and shrink, and I was never really sure. And like I'd have games that would sink to the bottom, and I was like, "Where's that game? I really like playing that game." And I have to dig through and like take all the games out, and then go find it, and then put them all back in. It was just horrible. So we had this couch here, and the only one using it was really me for the video. So I said, "Let's get rid of this couch, and then we'll throw up a shelf, and then that'll give me, because the storage, I can actually hold more games in the shelf, roughly than in a large closet spaces, because you can organize them better." So I said, let me just throw that up. That'll be the limit of the collection, and that's, you look at that. That's a lot of games there, and they're all good. I think most of those are still good, and that's plenty. I mean, if I stopped buying games, I could just go through the shelf, like one game at a time every week, and I'd be set for the rest of my life probably.
Yeah. Yeah, we're having one shelf. I basically have half the shelving space you do, and I probably got 100, 120 games on there, and you're not going to play them all. So you keep going through. You'll find ones that really do well for you for a good while, and then you end up getting rid of them after a while.
Yeah.
I do the math trades every now and then when there's a board game festival that I like going to up in Atlanta, and they have a flea market on like Saturday, and you bring whatever you want, put it out, and basically end up selling them off and getting rid of them. So.
Yeah, I love math trays. They're the most fun way to get rid of games.
Right. It's almost like, okay, I'll take this, and then you wonder what you're going to get if something will come through.
Yeah, I got, what did I get? usually I seem to trade downwards, in value, but every once in a while you get that little uptick. I'm like, how did this happen? I got
Yeah.
the Lord of the Rings Confrontation Deluxe, which is out of print. This was
Mm-hmm.
a couple years ago, maybe. And at that time, it was really out of print. It was going for like $100 or, give or take. And I don't remember what I figured out what was the one that went for it, but it was definitely like a $50 jump in value, so to speak. So it's kind of that push your luck gambling thing as you're configuring your matrix of things to what you want to get rid of and all that.
Yeah. Speaking of board game festivals, I know you go like the Gen Con, and apparently you went to Sasquatch. Is that kind of a recent one for you?
Yeah, that's when was that? First week of November. Yeah, that's private sort of thing, an invite only kind of thing with like 120 people or so, and they have a game group over in Seattle, and they bring over all the games from Essen, and then we get first crack at them, so to speak. And it's a 5-day thing, and I've only ever gone for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then I have family over there, my brother, and when we usually hang out on the weekend. He's not a big gamer; he does play games, but so I hang out with the rest. So everybody else just is burnt out on Sunday with the massive amount of games that they play. Because it's a lot like you could basically sit down, you open the game, and like people are like, "Did you read the rules to this online?" No. Oh, come on. And so we have to read through the rules. And
right.
It's fun though. You kind of get in the right mindset.
Yeah. That about a year ago, I went to my first board game festival. It was up in Atlanta. It's called Atlanta Game Fest, and my wife and I just on a whim decided to go to it, and it completely opened everything up for us. And that's when we went there and played all these games for free. You got to find what you liked and you didn't like, and if anybody out there's ever thought about going to one, it's a great way to actually pretty affordable way to figure out what you like and don't like.
Yeah.
Because ours, you don't have everybody brought their own stuff, and there was 500, 1,000 games on the shelves there. You can just pull them down, play them.
Nice.
Hold them up in the air, say, "Can anybody teach me how to play this?" So it's a great way to go. I've never got anything as big as like Gen Con or Essen or anything like that, but
yeah.
That Atlanta one got moved to the end of this month, and I'm going to it again, so I'm looking forward to it.
Good deal. Yeah, Gen Con's pretty fun. It's just a massive sea of people, You can get a lot of playing in, though. That's what I really like about, Gen Con is you can, if you want, you can just go hit that dealer hall at, first thing in the morning Thursday and get a few things and then spend the rest of the weekend, going to events and playing and stuff. It's kind of geared both ways, and I think they've really improved that over the last few years.
Yeah. That many people really doesn't interest me, but I think it's one of those things you would like to go to if you could and if you get a chance, but I'm not going on my way to go to it, but I may go one of these years.
Yeah,
Do you have a local game group you play with on a regular, or is it
a couple of different folks. I play with the family, and I play on Thursdays, or usually every other Thursday, with a group in Spokane. Now, I live here in northern Idaho, right on the border of Washington State, and Spokane's probably, let's say, half-hour away. And so at one time, not so long ago, we had a couple of years ago now, a huge group of like 50, 60 people playing at a shop there, which sadly closed down. That was awesome because it was like twice a week there, and it was great. But the shop closed down, and then a subset of us have play on Thursdays, and some of them play on Tuesdays at a thing, and there's some of those other folks from that shop play another place on Tuesday. I haven't played with those folks in a while. I keep getting an inkling to go pop my head in there and surprise them. And like, remember me? But and then I got some other friends of mine that are kind of more video gamers, but they will play games like Ascension and stuff like that. Like they like Magic and things.
Okay.
But they don't. If I throw a board on the table, they usually go, "What is this? Get this away from me." So yeah.
No, that's cool. My wife and I have a group of friends that none of them are really gamers, but we'll get together and everybody will bring food, and we end up making a game thing now. It became kind of a regular thing where we'll get stuff like Ticket to Ride, easy stuff, Carcassonne, stuff like that. Yeah. And it ended up being a lot of fun. We do that once a month or so, maybe a little less. This time of year, it's hard to do with all the holidays, but the last 6 months, I met up a guy who was trying to do a meetup group here for Panama City for gaming, and we had one yesterday. We had 20 people at it. So
wow.
Over the last 6 months, it's slowly starting to gain some momentum. And it used to be everybody showed up, played that one game because there wasn't enough of us, so 3, 4, maybe 5 people.
Yeah.
And the last 2 or 3, we've had 13, 15. And yesterday was 20.
That's
and we
great.
ended up playing for 7 hours, and I left, and people were still playing. So
awesome.
That's very cool. So it's a great way to find other people who want to play games and stuff like that. And we all started through Meetup, and that's how, in fact, how we keep track of it and everything. Me or another guy will post when we want to meet, and we still aren't real regular yet.
Yeah.
We seem to do about every other weekend on a Saturday or something like that.
Yeah.
But we actually do it at a restaurant, and the back area, we know the owner, and she normally doesn't open up the back area at the daytime, but she lets us all sit back there, and she has huge tables, and we eat there and everything, so it all works out well. We're not kind of relying on a board game store, and they have a hard time sometimes these days. So.
Yeah. There's a group here. I haven't met any of the folks that use Meetup as well, and actually the group that I'm with now on the Thursdays, before that shop even opened a few years ago, that actually was what we did. We would meet in a restaurant, kind of in the back there. I don't know if you can hear my bird or not, but it's making noise. So that's great. If you can get in those restaurants and things, that seems to be kind of the way to go. A lot of these game shops, they kind of live off Magic or Warhammer and things, and coming in and playing board games like from your home, it's not really. I don't know. This shop that we used to have was very unique in that way because the owners were board gamers more than anything. That's probably why the shop ended up closing because I don't think they made enough money. But restaurants are great. I wish we had like a Snake and Lattes or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think everybody's going to. It's amazing how well they do, but I don't know how successful they are, but I'm enjoying seeing them. So.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'll go ahead and give you crap about that one.
Okay.
We talked about it briefly. Watching some of your videos, and one I might have getting was A Few Acres of Snow, and I remember watching your video and how much you raved over that game.
Yeah.
And then I was laughing because that's what I told you. I noticed that when you did your shelf review, it's not there.
No.
So you want to talk about that, Amy?
I can. I actually still play it, and I haven't played it in a couple of months. I kind of burned my friend out on it. I have a friend that I play games with on ukata.de. You can play games online. It's nice because it's like a turn-based thing. I take a turn and click finish, and then it emails you and says you do your turn when you're ready. And we've been playing it up until a couple of months ago. So I still enjoy it. It's just one of those where you can see I don't have a whole lot of war games on my shelf. Let's see if you can. If you see up in the corner there, that's like a one shelf just dedicated to war games. And I wish I had more. But most of my wargaming is done like on Vassal, online.
Right.
If anybody's watching, there's an online program called Vassal that you can play games online, mostly war games. And so most of it's done through that. So a lot of times it's kind of like, I don't know why I still have like No Retreat up there, the first one, because I really like it and it's a good game, but it's like the only time I play it now is on Vassal. So I don't really need the physical copy, but the legal rules that you should have the physical game if you're going to play online and stuff. But I bought it. I don't know why I need to keep it to keep legality, and I don't think about it that much. But yeah, that's kind of one of the reasons I got rid of it. And there's the whole deal with the Halifax Hammer and stuff like that.
I wondered how.
What's that?
Yeah, I wondered how much that had to do with it. I know I've played it a couple times now, and I enjoy it, but I can kind of see where you kind of that lingering thing back in your brain, like, am I trying to take advantage of that or not taking advantage of it, or it kind of has that little quirk there.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Yes, I think it's a big deal, and I don't think the game deserves any awards. I think I put it in my top 10 of that year, though.
Yeah.
But I was kind of on the expectation that he was fixing it, because at that time there hadn't been any fixes issued, and I had faith that he would fix it. But I guess in some ways he made it worse and stuff. And I've actually played against the guy that figured out the Halifax hammer, and I almost beat him. You know, sadly he's passed away, so
Oh wow.
yeah, that's a bad thing. But and we talked about it, you know, and I said I almost had you there. He's like, no, you didn't. And he's like, you didn't have me at all. And I'm like, well, because I don't want to bore you with the details of the game, but he kept slamming Quebec. And I was ahead of him by like maybe almost 20 points worth of stuff. And because what I did in that game was I actually sieged Halifax as the French, like immediately. I just went in there, boom, and took it. So he can't come after me. But he still ended up beating me. You know, so he didn't beat me necessarily with the hammer. But kind of that threat of it is sort of the problem, is you can kind of hang that over the French's head.
Right.
But, you know, like I said, I've won the game as the French, as playing against people that I don't know how well they knew how to use the hammer, but they knew about it and they kind of knew the gist of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I still think it's a good game. It's just it has that little flaw in it, and it's something that I would play. And, you know, by the way, if you ever want to play it, I'll play with you.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll play as the French. You can do whatever you want.
I've played it with 2 or 3 times, so it won't be much of an advantage anyway. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, war games normally my wife doesn't really dig on them anyway, and a lot of the games we have play as 2-player with she and I. So for more regular day-to-day type stuff. So we really don't play a lot of those games anyway. So. But so we don't always stick to the Euro type stuff as well. So you kind of seem like you're like me. You like a little bit of everything, but you kind of stick to the Euros mainly.
Yeah, I'd say that's kind of my core would be the Euros, just because that's kind of what got me into it as a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah. But I like them all. I like Eldritch Horror, and that's really fun. And that's definitely not Hero. And you know, I like all the different war games, the No Retreat and Few Acres of Snow, and I like all those coin games, Distant Plain and Indian Abyss and all that stuff. I don't know. I think I'm probably a little bit of an outlier in that I like a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would probably the one category I don't do is party games, but that's not because I don't really like them. It's because I just don't have a group that plays them in my area. But we've played them like, you know, I was watching the Dice Tower live feed, and they were playing Time's Up, and I was just having a great time watching them play that. And it reminded me of this other game that we used to play at that shop I was just talking about, and I can't remember what the name of it was. But I played it with a friend of mine that was colorblind, and it was funny because it was such a color-based thing, and we like invented our own language to solve all the clues, and we ended up like crushing everybody. It was funny because I knew he was colorblind, so I can't remember, it was a few years ago, but yeah, I'll play anything. You know, it's just about. It's just I just need the time and the means and the right opponents, I guess.
Yeah. I was telling you that I just got a copy of Glass Road and Terra Mystica a couple days ago, and haven't gave Terra Mystica a try yet. It sure seems like a beast to understand, but it doesn't seem like that bad. The mechanics underneath, it's just getting through that initial learning curve there.
Yeah, that's one it's a little bit complex with the rules, but it's definitely on the complexity side with the strategy. Like, what am I supposed to do? You know, right. Okay, I know all the rules, but now what do I do? So that's definitely a big one there. That's good. Yeah, that's a good one. And just to kind of dovetail off your Few Acres of Snow thing, there are a few games that I've gotten rid of that I've regretted getting rid of, and that could be one of them. I don't really necessarily feel that way because you can play it online, so anytime I want to play it, I can just do it there. But there is a couple, like one that I thought of was Lancaster. You don't see that one up there. And I don't know, it's just I wasn't getting to the table at that time that I was kind of culling things, and then I got rid of it and traded it. But now I think about it every once in a while. I'm like, oh, I missed that game.
Yeah.
And there's a handful of others like that. I think I've mostly retained everything I want to. But sometimes you just get rid of games like you're saying. You're calling it, and you're looking at the shelf. You're like, man, I've been playing that, so out it goes.
Right.
And 6 months later, you're like, wow, that was fun.
And I have noticed that some of my friends who have a big collection as well, that, oh, okay, you have that. I'll let you keep that, and I have this, and we kind of use each other
that's
as well.
True.
So
yeah, that's definitely true.
so.
And like I think I said in a video before, I've thought about getting rid of Eclipse because, man, I think at least 3 or 4 people in my group have it, and I don't really need it. I mean, they have it, but I just can't get rid of it. I don't know why. But I've thought about it.
Yeah. How long you been doing videos?
Well, let's see, about 3 years, I guess.
About 3 years.
I started early in 2011, so almost 3 years. It feels like longer because I kind of started thinking about it in Gen Con 2010. I actually watched a lot of Drakenstrike's videos because I think that's about when he started. And I remember watching some of his videos, and he started getting into more of the musical intro stuff. I'm sure you're familiar with his videos, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Most people are if they know who I am,
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched that and I was like, this is, there was a couple of intro things, specifically like the Labyrinth, which is the game about the War on Terror, and I don't want to sound like I'm talking bad about him, but it was kind of overextended, and he kept like throwing out these names of like, oh, it's a 2-player game. It has hand management, but the music was put to like very moving music. And I think for everybody, especially in the United States, that event, obviously everything surrounding the event hits home. And I was like very moved by it. And then like just kind of the way he was talking about the game, and it just kind of sparked something in me. And I watched that. And if you watch the intro and stuff in his video, he's like very careful about how he talks about the game. And but it is kind of funny because it's like this moving music, and it's like hand management. It's like what? It's like all these mechanics. I just thought that part was funny, but the rest of the video, so that kind of got me going. And then there was a video by James Castelli. He's an Australian guy. He doesn't do a lot of videos anymore. He did a couple, and he used to do like these flash things. And I was, I really enjoyed it. And like most people around me don't like to hear me talk about games that much. And I can go on for hours, So it's kind of like, well, let's just make videos and stuff. And I was kind of like learning, I have definitely kind of a strange affiliation with these things because I feel kind of passionate about them in a lot of ways, and part of it is kind of for me to figure out why, And I like some of the games, like you can see Kalis right back there. That one and a couple others that I played a long time ago really have stuck with me, and I never was able to kind of put my finger on why I enjoyed them so much. And you notice I haven't reviewed that one yet. So I was just kind of wanted to learn about it, and I figured if I can do videos and stuff and kind of talk my way through it, I would learn more about how they're put together and stuff too. So there's a little bit of that going on,
Did you do any written first, or you just do mainly videos?
No, I just did the videos.
Yeah.
To me, the videos, that's kind of what struck me. And Drakenstrike was doing the high definition. He was the first one to do that. And that really, once you pop that sucker into high def, you get a real appreciation for how the game works and things. You can see clarity of the icons and the different figures and everything. And then that's like was like, wow, this is now video has gotten to the point where you can buy high def on YouTube. And I think that was right about the time you could start doing high def on YouTube, because YouTube hadn't been able to do high def this whole time. And so that was another thing that kind of got my brain going. It was like, okay, this is cool. Like, this is actually helpful. Not that videos weren't before, but to me it was, there's no question, and you can really see what the components look like in reality. And so that got me kind of lit a fire under me.
How long have you been playing board games? Like, you've been playing them all your life?
Well, yeah, pretty much, I guess Candyland,
Yeah.
But we played Monopoly and all that stuff, and Trivial Pursuit, and what other stuff? Categories. Actually had a game called Dragonlance and Buck Rogers, so I'm kind of an Ameritrasher at heart.
Yeah.
I had those when I was in probably junior high or so, and I used to play around with those with my brother, and some other ones like Solar Quest and things. Solar Quest is horrible. Don't ever play that. I guarantee you we played that thing wrong when we were kids because I actually got that in a trade or something like a year or so ago. I'm like, I remember liking this. What was so? And it's like worse than Monopoly. Like the actual rules of Solar Quest are just worse than the actual rules of Monopoly. I mean, so I did that, and then let's see, a friend of mine introduced me to Magic, when I was in college, and I dinked around with that for a little bit. Kind of like in high school, I took a little bit of a break. I did play Hero Quest back then in high school. That was fun. And, when I wasn't gaming a lot, I played a lot of video games and stuff. And then in like 99 or 2000, somewhere before 2001, a friend of a friend invited me over because we had played Catan a few times, like with a mutual friend. And that was really cool. I really liked that. And I almost didn't think much about it, I was like, this is really neat. You can trade, and you're kind of involved all the time, and it was kind of like Risk to me, which is weird, but you're building your roads and everything, kind of controlling territory, but it was not war-based. It was all economic based, which was cool. But that one didn't really hit me, and then maybe a couple months later, he said, come over and play Carcassonne. Well, he didn't tell me. He said, come over and play some games from Germany. I was like, ooh, Germany. Like, what's that about? And then we played Carcassonne, and I didn't like it at all. And I was like, this is dumb. It's like a kid's game. That's what I thought. And then we played Lowenherz, which is another game by the guy that designed Catan, which you can't get anymore, but you can find sort of the redo of it called Domain. And I really like Lowenherz, and so we played that, and we played like Bonanza. We played a lot of Catan as well, and then there wasn't a whole lot of games back then. I mean, I didn't play El Grande until like 2004 or so. But then at that time, roll around to that time, we were playing Power Grid and Kalis and all that stuff. So, and then that particular group, some of those folks still live in the area. But we kind of stopped hanging out for games anyway because they started playing poker all the time and Guitar Hero, and so I like Guitar Hero though. But yeah, so that kind of we stopped playing board games so much.
Yeah. You sound kind of like did you play any Avalon Hill stuff that came out in junior high?
I don't think so. I didn't play Fortress. Was it Fortress America and then, was that Avalon Hill? I
can't remember because I remember we played. Me and a friend of mine used to always play some in high school, and used to play them, and they were pretty dense. I mean, old school war games type thing, moving little chits around and everything. But I remember trying to play some of them, and then yeah, kind of like you, we played this typical American stuff you did playing growing up, and that was all due to my family. I even found when I went back to visit my family recently, we had a copy of Scotland Yard back when it originally came out.
Yeah, I played that. Yeah, I played that when I was a kid.
I remember really enjoying that. Now it's on my shelf over here just because it's an original version. And instead of having that Spiel des Jahres, it has Europe award winner. So I guess people didn't know what that was back then. So.
Right. Yeah, they wouldn't know what is this language. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually waiting to. I used to have it not so long ago, and we played it. It's probably been a couple years, but I'm waiting for the new one because apparently it does something with the iPad and Mr. X or something. I can't remember. And it's supposed to be hitting the stateside at some point, but it's meant to be used with an iPad only. And you like put it over the board, and it does all. So I'm like, got rid of the other one. I'm waiting for that one to come. It looks interesting.
Huh. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, it's a very cool old school type game. That's what we played and remember growing up. And then I really didn't get into the modern board gaming until 2 years ago or something like that. And the same order, I ordered Settlers, Carcassonne, and Ticket to Ride. Did the old research and came up with the trifecta basically. And for us, my wife and I really got into Carcassonne with all the expansions and all that early on.
Yeah.
And for us, Settlers, we don't play as much because mainly we're playing 2 players, and you need 3 for that one. So.
Yeah.
But definitely gone from there. I'm personally a huge Feld fan these days. I like it. Trajan and Castles, and my wife for Christmas just got me Notre Dame, even though it's out of print right now. So
Nice.
and I'm really looking forward to trying Bora Bora as well. You speak pretty highly of that as well. So
yeah, I enjoy that one quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It seems kind of like Castles of Burgundy, but a little bit heavier or a little more involved.
Yeah, definitely. It's you can be a little meaner in it. And so I think I like that. It's in Burgundy, like you can take a tile away from somebody, if they want a pig
Right.
or something. So there's an interaction with that, which is interesting. But with Bora Bora, you can definitely host people over, and it's interesting because it's not like a direct slap in the face kind of thing. It's more like you're kind of leveling the playing field for everybody, even yourself, because you can put like low and high number dice on the different worker placement spots. So you just kind of set the bar, set the level, and equalize that playing field, because if you let them go and have easy access to whatever the thing is, tiles or moving across the board, they're going to crush you. So you have to be a little bit proactive in that regard. So I really like that. It's very interesting. Yeah.
That's definitely I want to try that Amerigo. I'm not sure. Just looking, I didn't even Kickstarter it at all. I looked at it enough. I didn't even like it enough to really Kickstarter it, but I definitely want to give it a try, because he seems like, even me and my wife both, his games just work for us. They just kind of click for us.
Yeah.
And we really like them. So that's one I'm looking forward to trying that Bora Bora and all that out. But I'm trying to hold off buying any more games till the end of the month, where I can actually put my hands on it and play it and go, okay, this is worth my time or my money. So
yeah.
Do you go to any other board game conferences, or you just go to those basically Gen Con and
Sasquatch? Yeah, we have a couple local things here. We have sort of like a sci-fi convention. It's called Spokon in Spokane, and I've gone to that, and they usually have a little board game room there, but that's not really board gaming. They just have it. That's pretty much it. Sometimes we'll have a thing at a couple of shops around here. I'll go to those, but not a huge convention guy. I'd like to be. It's just, I gotta get time off work and all that stuff.
Absolutely. That's about all I had.
Let me take a look at some of the questions here. I noticed, I was just peeking at that a second ago. I think I caught up to, all right, a lot of comments about nations.
Yeah, I saw that.
All right, that's fine. Let's see. Okay, do you see online game stores helping or hurting the game hobby? Is the hobby growing? And do you think the growth in more expensive games is hurting the hobby? I'll actually answer those in reverse, I think. I do think the hobby's growing for sure. I think it's going to grow a ton this year and next year. I don't know beyond that, but I don't think there's a growth in more expensive games, though, because you do see a lot of those micro games and things coming out. And like you even see like Coin Age and what was the other one? Wherefore Art Thou on Kickstarter, like, a couple of bucks. So you do see cheap games coming out, but you do see kind of the cost come up. Like Nations is one, the cost is pretty high. Caverna, Caverna I think is more of a justified cost, because you get just an insane amount of pieces in that. So I think you kind of have separate growth patterns, so to speak, because maybe like a love letter or Ticket to Ride or something gets somebody into the hobby, and that's going to sink its teeth into a few of those folks who are kind of looking for something more meaty. But then there's other folks that aren't really going to go much further in terms of the weight and complexity. They're going to be satisfied with just whatever's there, and they don't want to sit down and have a brain burn. They don't think that's fun. So I think you're going to have. Now I've had publishers tell me that the opposite, that we're only headed towards the more casual, and I don't really think that's true either. I mean, otherwise, why would Caverna sell out right away?
Yeah, and you look how popular Terra Mystica was and how heavy it is.
Right. I don't know. It's hard to gauge, because I think there's so many weird levels. Because if you look at like Ticket to Ride and Catan, those have sold millions. And I don't know about millions. I think millions, or hundreds and hundreds of thousands of copies. And then you get a game like Eclipse that comes out a couple years ago and has 3,000 copies and sells out instantly. And then another print run of like 3 or 5,000. But I don't know. Has Eclipse even sold 100,000 copies total? I don't think so. But that's considered a hugely successful game within the vacuum of Board Game Geek. I think that's sort of the trick there, because there's a lot of people that play games that don't go on Board Game Geek.
Mm-hmm.
Never, several that have never heard of it, or they don't like it because they're more of they have a perception of what Board Game Geek is, but they're real heavy gamers and this and that. So it's a strange thing to get a grasp on of what's actually happening, at least from the outside. I'm sure the publishers and those guys all have a good idea what's happening, but for me, I think there's kind of two different paths that are happening. I think the new gamers is going to help everything. It's going to help the heavy games and all that, but it's more going to help the casual games, just because you're going to hit that, a wider demographic with that.
It seems like there's a lot of really high quality games coming out right now, so that's why the gaming industry is doing so well right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I was mentioning in my video there on the worst games or whatever, when I'm trying to make my list for the best games, there's so many good ones, and that's the thing, I think there's so many games, there's so many of everything. There's so many bad games, there's so many mediocre games, but there's also so many good ones and things like that. So that's tricky. Oh, we did get more questions here, if you don't mind.
No, let's go.
Knocking them out.
Yeah.
Let's see. What would be your top 3 entry-level solo Victory Point games? Top 3 entry-level solo games. I would say Zulus on the Ramparts, Ottoman Sunset, and a slightly more complex would be Nemo's War. But Nemo's War, I would definitely wait for the Gold Banner edition that's going to come in a box, because they're going to redo that, I think, this year. That one's really fun. You notice I don't have any of those because they're solo, and once you play them 5 or 6 times, it's kind of like not everybody's going to be like this, so I think you could probably get more plays out of it, but it's kind of one of those where I've kind of been there, done that. If it's a solo game, the replayability is a little bit lacking, but I still enjoy them. I still think they're fun. But I think those 3 would be the best. That's off the top of my head, though. Let's see. So yeah, somebody's agreeing about Caverna. That's like huge. That box, you could kill somebody with that box.
Mm-hmm.
What determines a game's weight for you? Like what makes a game heavy versus light? You mentioned Terra Mystica is heavy, but to me it's fairly not heavy. Yeah, that's tricky. Gosh. Yeah, well, there's 2 kinds of heavy, right? There's more like heavy in rules, and I'd say like a Venus or CO2. Those are by the same designer, Vital Lacerda. Those have a fair chunk of rules, and you have a game like No Retreat, which is a war game. That's got a lot of rules. So there's heavy on that side, but then there's heavy on strategy. And I do think Terra Mystica is heavy in that regard because there's a lot of sort of spatial stuff you have to keep in mind, especially with, once you play with more players. Now, one thing with Terra Mystica is I think you want to play that with at least 4 players. Or definitely not with 2, because it's just the map. There's one thing about it is the map doesn't scale based on the number of players.
Mm-hmm.
So, but once you get a lot of players, and it's kind of like, okay, where do I go? What do I do? And all that kind of good stuff. Yeah, so there's that. I'm kind of racking my brain as I'm talking here about a game that has like almost no rules, but it's kind of heavy, and I'm having a hard time. Tigris and Euphrates is kind of that way. It's pretty simple, abstracted kind of thing, but there's a lot going on. But it's not really like a heavy, what do I do? It's just there's a lot that you need to consider. Let me just look across my shelf real quick. I mean, Kalis is one that, to me, doesn't have a lot of rules, but it's kind of in that medium weight rule set. I think. But it's very heavy on the strategy side. Now, Spirium, that's another one by the same designer. Very simple rule set, but there's a lot to consider there. And even that Brussels, I just reviewed that the other day. That one's it's not bad. It's a little bit complex out the gate, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty simple how it works. But there's a lot of impact and consequences to your choices. And I think that's what I usually mean by heavy. It's like when I make a choice and do this, what's the consequences of that? Who am I screwing over? How am I setting myself up for later? Or am I setting myself up for later? So that's kind of where I come in for that. That's where it's like, is the decision tough? You know, and that's not necessarily the math I'm doing. Is it difficult? Because, I mean, Power Grid is one that I would figure. I played it a lot. So the math has kind of become. I know when I have to calculate and when I just can play by the seat of my pants. But that's one that's heavy, and the rule set is not very heavy. But the decisions are tough, in that game. It's like, okay, that one you can almost bid yourself out of the game if you don't bid right or bid aggressively enough or bid too aggressively. So that's where I figure out. That's where, to me, the heaviness comes in, is those decisions. So.
Yeah, because you can look at it two different ways. Whether the heavy means, like each decision you make is a make or break type idea, or is it just getting over that initial hurdle of learning the game?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I look at Terra Mystica, because after looking at it and trying to get my head wrapped around it, the actual actions itself aren't that bad. It's just getting over that initial curve, trying to figure out how everything works together and all that. So, so, and I can see how that person said it really isn't that heavy, but now you understand it. Yeah, it's not that bad. So,
yeah. Another guy here mentions Friedman Freeze's Friday as a fun solo game. That's another one I regret getting rid of. No, I played the heck out of that. I actually beat it on. There's like 4 levels, and then the designer actually added more levels. I think I beat it on level 6, but I still really enjoy it. Like, I've really kind of figured it out, so to speak. I've played it like at least 20 or 30 times, and that's one that I do want to break out, because it's like you kind of forget the strategy a little bit. I think that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. Like with Lancaster, you play it a few times and you kind of get to know it, and it becomes predictable. But if you put it on your shelf and leave it on there for 3, 4, 6 months, you'll still remember the rules. You have to refresh the rules a little bit, and then the strategy will kind of come back to you. But that's kind of fun too, where you like put it on the shelf and you kind of don't think about it, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember this, and then by the end of the game, you're like, oh, okay, now I remember the strategy. So it's fun to break those out once in a while.
Yeah, I had Friday as well. I ended up trading it away, but there for a while I could beat it on the different levels. But then I sat it for a while, and it came back to me, like, how did I beat this? So it's kicking my butt for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
You try to remember the trick. Okay, I do this and that. And then,
yeah. But, that one's interesting because it's got that one tipping point, kind of like at the beginning part of the game, where you can get ahead of the curve on the fighting in the deck, and if you hit that, then it's about optimizing and getting the most points possible. Otherwise, if you don't, then you're going to die.
Right. It's if you can even make it to the Pirates at the end. Otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. All right. Well, let me see. You got any more questions for me at all?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay.
That's all I had written down here.
Okay. Well, I got a couple questions for you then.
Okay.
All right. So, what would you say your favorite game is? Do you have one?
Oh, this year I could pick a few different ones. Like I said, failed.
Or of all time, either.
Last few years. Castles of Burgundy, even Trajan, and both have been playing the hell out of them. My wife and I both really like them. And even Castles of Burgundy, we found pretty good for like the board game groups, that people pick it up pretty quick. They may not understand. What I do is each round go, okay, here's what the yellow tiles do, and they've kind of got the rest of them figured out, and we can play it and have a good time with it. It's still better a 2-player game, but it's still fun with 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And it kind of exposes them to some heavier games that if all they're doing is showing up and playing Ticket to Ride or something, the lighter games, and kind of get their feet wet there. Worker placement, she and I played the hell out of Stone Age, and then we got Zolkin and hardly touched Stone Age since. And we love Zolkin, and even Lords of Waterdeep is vastly improved with those expansions.
Oh yeah.
I really like that corruption, and it's fun to how far can I push this, but get rid of them by the end of the game, so I'm not getting screwed on points. And see what else. Yeah, we kind of got. We just got. I got her Keyflower. She got me Notre Dame, and I got her Keyflower for Christmas. And
sounds like a good Christmas.
Yeah, no, and we really like Keyflower. You can tell right away. It kind of has it's worker placement, but it has some like Carcassonne and like even suburbia type aspects to it.
Right.
And really, really like it. You can get mean with the betting, but you can kind of be both laid back and I've played it both ways, and it's a really great game. I'm hoping that gets more press. I saw I did a Kickstarter, and I missed the Kickstarter with the expansion. But that's a game that really a lot of people need to try out. I know it's not real easy to get, but it's worth trying to find, I think.
Yeah.
Trying to think what else. Yeah, Zolkin this last year has pretty much been that one and that Lords of Waterdeep once the expansion came out have been the big worker placement games.
Nice.
And played a lot of Guildhall lately.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
We've been playing that a lot. And we got the expansion, and a couple of those cards we love, and a couple of them we're not going to use.
Oh, yeah?
They're overly complicated. They're like, okay, you get to do this and then this. And it's just, you play with people that kind of that analysis paralysis thing. You're going to just
you know what? That was the thing, because that was one that I played a lot with my lunch group. You asked earlier my gaming groups. I forgot to mention my group at work. That one was really good, but man, I couldn't get these guys to take their turns with this game. And I was like, dude, it's not that complicated. And I've seen them play, complicated games, within the context of a half-hour game. We played a lot of games that have some complexity to them, and I was like, come on, guys, this is we couldn't get the games done, and we were always late, going back to work, and I was like, man, I can't bring this anymore. We're gonna get fired. But yeah, I like that one anyway. So I thought that was funny because it's definitely on the lighter side, but I've seen folks not be able to get into it so much. And like just to talk about, you mentioned Burgundy before. That is an interesting thing that I've noticed about that game. Is it seems to be one of the better kind of next step games, for folks that were playing Ticket to Ride and things like that. That one seems to work really well. And when that came out, that was when we still had the shop over there. And that was one that I saw spread around quite a bit. That were folks that were kind of new to everything, and that's something I think unique about that one. And maybe that's why I haven't gotten rid of it, and I still have Bor and that one, because Bor is not one that I think is good for newer gamers. But that one, I think that's what's so special about it, and probably why it's ranked higher than Trajan and Bor. Even though I like Bor better than both of those, I think that's why you see that ranking disparity.
It's kind of funny. My wife, there's certain games she's very clear on what games she likes and doesn't like, and we've now played 3 different Rosenberg games, and all 3 of them she goes no, because early on she didn't care for Bonanza, and still can't get into Agricola, and we just now played Glass Road, and Glass Road she was like a maybe on, but then afterwards I kind of jokingly said, I said, this is the 3rd Rosenberg game you kind of no, and then everything I could put a Feld game in front of her and it would click. It's just, I guess that certain designers have that certain kind of way of setting up a game.
Yeah, I seem to have that problem with Fiduti for some reason. I really want to like every game I've played from his, and I just end up not liking it. And I hate that because I read his blogs. Sometimes he seems like a really funny and cool guy. I'm like, man, I just don't like any of the games.
Yeah.
There's a couple questions here people asking. I'll jump back in.
Okay.
Do you have a time you want to stop, or I don't?
No, I'm fine. I figured we'd go about an hour and a half. If we go that far, that's cool.
Okay. All right. So do you think there's a fair amount of replayability in coin games like Cuba Libre? Yes, absolutely. I've played Andean Abyss probably 20 or so times, and Cuba Libre I'm probably around probably 7 or 8 plays now. You kind of lose track after you get to about 5. And then a distant plane I haven't played quite as much. I think I only played that about 3 times. That one's brutal. It's tricky. It may be the best of the 3, but it's kind of like, man, I would just much rather throw Cuba Libre down because that's easily the simplest of the 3. Yeah, the replayability, I definitely think it's there. One of the things that I like about it is you can play them solo, and they work pretty good solo. But like I said, solo plays, they kind of peter out because you're kind of in a vacuum, and but they all work really well two-player, and you can swap factions. So like in Cuba Libre, for example, you can play government and syndicate versus the Directorio and the 26th Regiment or whatever they're called. And so I can play one team versus another team, and we can swap and then play different things. And then you've got your four-player game, which is really where a lot of the sort of table talk and dynamics come into play. And I think that's where a lot of the game, replayability comes in, is playing with different folks and letting the negotiations happen, and those sort of table dynamics, I like to use that word, happen. So that's where that replayability is going to come in. Let's see. Oh, Richard's on here. Hey, Richard. I'm reading to see if he's giving me junk about Nations and Amerigo. Somebody said, I don't know if it's true, but I think his 1 and 2 of the year were Nations and Amerigo, and then my bottom 1 or 2 were me.
I know Nations is up there. I couldn't remember. I knew Amerigo. I know he liked. I think he liked Bora Bora and Amerigo this year. So. Yeah.
Well, at least we agree about Bora Bora. It says, hey, Joel, do you play games with your wife? If so, which? If not, how come? Yes, we do. Her favorite game is Ticket to Ride, probably by far, and we have different maps for that. And I actually don't like the base game of Ticket to Ride. I like it with the stations in Europe, and we have some different maps and things. And so we like playing that. We're actually waiting for one in a geek, what is it called? Game for Geek Gold auction. You put Geek Gold in and then you win it. I won the Netherlands map, so we're excited for that to come. Should be on its way.
Yeah, we just got that. We played it yesterday. We played it twice. Once with 2 players, with she and I, and then once with 5. And it's much better with more people.
Oh, is it?
The 2-player has like a dummy player you got to throw in there, and it's kind of fidgety. Right. Oh. It's kind of fidgety. I didn't really care for that. But if you had 3 or 5, I could see it being fun. Boy, with 5 people, that map gets crowded really fast, especially around the southwest version, that around Amsterdam and all that. Every single line was full. The north and the east kind of side were a little wide open, but and I don't think it was the tickets. We had 5 people with each having at least 4 tickets, and it seemed like a lot of the tickets are concentrated in that southwest version corner, and it was tough getting in and out of there.
Yeah, I'm interested to try it, and my group we'll play that with my group too. So
yeah,
that's too bad if it doesn't work with 2, because that's how I mostly play it, with my wife.
And for us, she likes Ticket to Ride a lot. The Nordic one, which is good for 2 or 3 players, and that one, I think the Switzerland one we like a lot too.
Yeah, the Switzerland on the other side is was it India? Yeah,
I think so.
We like that. Yeah, we have the Europe, that Switzerland, and India, and the Africa one. Really like that one. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, we played the Africa one at the board game event. My wife said it was too mean. So, and
yeah, that's definitely mean.
Yeah, she doesn't, because I'll be mean and she'll try to be nice, and then she's screwed. So.
Yeah. She also likes she likes Glenmore. She likes Carcassonne. What else does she like? She likes Stone Age. I'm trying to think what else we played together. And then we'll play games with the 3 of us, my wife and my youngest son. I have an older son, but he's out of the house. He's out working. But we'll play like Ink and Gold, and we tried Catan. They didn't really like that. And gosh, what else? Oh, my son likes King of Tokyo, and that's probably, was it? Let me think now. I'm having a brain fart here. King of Tokyo and Ink and Gold. What else does he like? I feel like I'm forgetting his favorite game. Oh, Forbidden Island and Forbidden Desert. So we like those. My wife will play those as well. So she's definitely a lighter gamer. She doesn't have time for work in games, as it were.
Right. I play with my nephews. They don't live here in town, but when they come to visit, they went to a board game convention, and they latched right on to King of Tokyo. And I think 6, 9, 11 their ages, and they're all over that. And We found that one's fun to play at the board game groups as well. That one's a good way to get people to try something different. It's kind of like Yahtzee with monsters. If they can understand that, then move on. And then you can make it more complicated with the extra cards and all that. But it seems like a good one to bring people in.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. Let's see, got a couple more things here.
Okay.
Another one. So Richard's asking me again, what themes are you especially drawn towards and what mechanisms? He suspects my answer will be I like them all. Yeah, as far as the mechanisms, I think you guessed correctly there. I wouldn't say I'd almost say there's mechanisms that turn me away, not that I'm gonna not like it. It's just kind of like, see, if you tell me a game has worker placement, I'm like, and if you tell me a game has deck building, I'm kind of like that too. But, if you tell me a game has a rondelle, I was kind of like, oh gosh, another one.
Yeah.
So, but I kind of get over that, and but anything else, I kind of look at it and just, like one that really just got me going was this Brussels 1893, and that has worker placement and it has auctions, but it's so bizarre, such a weird mix of all of those mechanics together. So that I'm always kind of interested in from a mechanical side, with the essence stuff, like what concoction in their laboratories in Europe in some deep German basement or something, they come up with these, different things. So I'm always excited to see that, just because from I don't know why this is. It's probably because of my introduction to Euro games so long ago. I was really blown away by how different they are from what I thought a board game could be. Because you play Monopoly, like, okay, a board game is this, or Trivial Pursuit, or in different crappy games like that. I'm just always interested to see how they can simulate different things or get at different emotions mechanically. So pretty much all of them. But you tell me a game has worker placement and deck building, I'm kind of like, okay, well. But theme-wise, I don't know. I don't, I don't. I'd hate to invoke Vassal, but he hates trading the Mediterranean supposedly. I don't know if that's necessarily true. It's kind of a joke at this point. And he loves space. I hear him say a lot. But there's a lot of space games now, and I think that I don't know. And zombies, I guess is a theme I don't really like, but I do have. No, I don't have any zombie games other than the Walking Dead card game, which doesn't count. Actually, I only have that because there's a variant. It's basically 6 Nymph, but it has a variant in there that is in no other 6 Nymph game. So I can play every version of 6 Nymph with it. I don't care about. I do like Walking Dead the show though. I don't know. Interesting themes, I would say. I'm trying not to give away. Well, here we go. So you have Rococo there. And that's a game about making dresses and suits for well-to-do elites in Europe. That's not a theme I totally get into, but the game saves it. The game actually works well with the theme and stuff. So I think I like to see interesting themes. I don't like to necessarily see themes about trains, themes about trading the Mediterranean. That's kind of a boring theme. Just anything that's like a new theme. That's not something that I've seen before, like CO2. That's kind of like a global warming from the perspective of the economics of it kind of idea. That's interesting. So anything that's new and different that I haven't seen before, that's what's interesting. All right, let's see here. Catch up here. Let's see. Yeah, Nordic countries, that's one that I want to try. I haven't picked that up yet for Ticket to Ride. I heard it works really well too.
I put the comment on there, but it kind of forces you to get in the way of each other. The map's small enough where even if you're not trying to be a jerk and get in the way, you kind of have to because there's only so many. And it's a very cool map. I like that one a lot.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Richard's asking me what happened to standing up in front of your shelves. You know, the lighting in here is strange, and so there was not really a good spot to put the lighting, and it looked kind of awkward. And I had actually several comments tell me, "Don't, it doesn't look right," and all this stuff, and I agreed with them. And so I actually have this little stool here. Let's see if I can show you. Oh, it doesn't matter that much. You can see the stool there I sit on over there. It actually works really well because it's not like a chair or couch, so I'm not kind of trapped in there. I have to be kind of almost on my feet, but I can, I think it looks nice with the games in the background, and I got the lighting kind of fixed now, so it's not so harsh and everything. And I got the when I'm standing, it's actually very hard for me to find a spot to put the camera. That looks okay and everything. So it's just kind of the nature of the room I'm in and the confines of everything. Not that exciting. Yeah. Okay. What about a strong theme shines when a style like Manhattan Project? That's a good game. Another one that I should still have here, but I don't. Some folks in my group have it, thankfully. Um, Somebody actually brought it last week, but we didn't end up playing it. That's a good one. I shouldn't have gotten rid of that one. Really, really like that game. Let's see. Joel, you're reminding me of the nostalgia of HeroQuest so many years ago. Yes. One of those eye-opener board games for me, making the Kickstarter debacle that much more of a sad event. Yes, it is sad. Yeah, I'm not going to comment on it. I don't want to talk about it. I hope that like Hasbro, somebody ends up making it. That'd be cool. But you know what? I got one I got rid of. You can see up. Get my finger up there is Claustrophobia, and got rid of that and actually got that back. And that actually, HeroQuest 2 player is my favorite way to play HeroQuest. And to me, Claustrophobia probably does it just as good. And especially if you get the expansion and download all the different scenarios, there's so much game there. And it's very much like a HeroQuest when you play 2 player. One guy's the DM and one guy controls all of the heroes, and which isn't that hard to manage because they're not that complex. In HeroQuest, you just kind of move and have attacks and things. So, excuse me, you're more managing them as a group. And so Claustrophobia is just like that. You're kind of exploring, revealing tiles, managing your party versus, the person who's sort of the overlord or whatever. So I almost don't really think, even if they reprinted HeroQuest verbatim, I'd probably still look at it. But Claustrophobia to me is, you might as well just get that, and you can get that really cheap. So definitely take a look at that if you like HeroQuest. And I actually picked that up because I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, I should get that again, and had it for a while before, but got rid of it. More questions? All right, now people are on a roll here. If you got questions, throw them in there, Bart. I'm just reading the comments here.
Okay, yeah.
How long does it take you on average to do a standard review video? Okay, so probably about an hour or two to record the rules, kind of give or take. It depends on the game. Like Terra Mystica took me a couple hours, for example, and Brussels took me a little bit of time, maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours. But I could review, I don't know, Cheaty Mages, and that took me half an hour to explain the rules. It doesn't take that long to actually explain. It's just kind of like thinking about where I want the pieces and setting them up. Because the thing is, when you tell people how to play in real life, you can sort of, throw the first turn out and just kind of play through it, and then you just kind of play in the game. It's easier to do that. And you know that, Richard, because you just play the game, and by the second turn, everybody's got it. So that's interesting. So, depends on the game. Let's say an hour to 2 hours for the walkthrough, and then telling you about it. That is the time you see there. Sometimes I'll restart it. Sometimes my bird, which you may have heard in the background, makes a noise, so I have to go talk to it for a little bit because it thinks I'm talking to it in here because it hears my voice. So that adds time. But the intro and all that doesn't take very long, and then editing it takes a couple hours. I've kind of got that down to where I have sort of a system, so it takes me a lot less time than it used to. So not too bad. I don't know, altogether, I usually do it at night, after kids have eaten dinner and done homework and all that stuff, and so let's say I start at 7 or 8 at night, and then I'm usually done by midnight. So I guess about 4 hours or so. It just depends. Sometimes I'll start a video and then finish it the next day, like Terra Mystica or something.
Yeah, the geek in me makes. What do you record it, edit it with, and all that?
Let's see here. I have a. This is the camera. I mean, you're a Kickstarter guy, so I can show you what you bought. Let's see here. Let's see. So I can see this. All right. So this is the new camera I got, and this is a Panasonic HCX920. Pretty nice. And it comes with this. This is extra. But I got this mic for it. It's got the little shoe on it. The mic on this is really bad. That was the only thing about the camera. It's got motion stabilization and all this other cool whiz-bang stuff. But the mic on the camera itself is not so great. So I got this external mic, which will actually be good for the convention stuff, which is really what the Kickstarter was about. It's because you can take and I can point the mic to the person. Before the Gen Con videos were done with the iPad, which I thought worked fine. I actually was surprised how well it sounds. But I can take and point this at somebody, so it should sound even better once I get that done. So I do that, throw that on a tripod, and I have a couple of different software programs I use. Let's see, what are they called? Corel Video Studio Pro, which is a very nice, cheap little program. I think I got it on sale for like $40. It's normally like $80 or so. And then I use Adobe After Effects and also Windows Movie Maker because I've got to actually convert. Something about this new camera is weird. I've got to convert it to MP4 first, but it's the same format as my old camera. Oh, and he's still here. I have him as a backup. Little cute little guy there. So that's, yeah, I think that's pretty much what I use. And then I have the lights. Oh, you can see one of the lights. I actually have one light blocking. Can we see it? May not. I have all this laptop plugged in here. Here, I don't know if you want to see this or not. Hold on a minute. Okay, so I can shrink it down here. So this is one of the lights I have, and it's what I call them, a softbox light, and so that is like works wonders. And I actually got a green screen and stuff like that with it. I may do something with the green screen. I've got the shelves up there. I can kind of hang it. Before there wasn't really a good spot to put it. That was just like the difference in price between the lighting kit with the green screen and without was like $20. So I said, well, let me just get the green screen. I can play with it one day. So I used that, but that thing, that's great. I mean, that is like just the turning on the lights at half power, because before I had them on at full power, it was too intense. But just that by itself really has improved the videos in general, I think. So, you can't good lighting. You can't oversell that. So, all right, a couple more questions, and then maybe we'll wrap it up. It's like my Chargers are winning, so I'm gonna celebrate. Let's see. Okay, any standout games you're looking forward to in 2014? Any expansions to fix issues? I don't know about anything I'm looking forward to Robinson Crusoe expansion. That comes with a campaign mode. I actually played a game with that last night. Got my butt kicked again. So I want to play that. I would like an Eldritch Horror expansion. I do think that should have had a little bit more in the box. I really like the game though. It's a really good game, and my group really likes it too. So, but I would like some extra cards in there because we have seen in the same game you can go through and see this same card like 3 times possibly. Expansions and then stuff I'm looking forward to. Gosh, not really. I know they have a geek list on Board Game Geek about all the upcoming games that people are looking forward to. I'd say the Fleet expansion, another expansion, looks really. I actually played that prototype copy of it. I really like Fleet. It makes Fleet probably twice as good. I don't know that it's really fixing the game, but it definitely improves it. What's coming out next year? I think Argent Consortium, that's on Kickstarter, and ends in about a couple hours. I just got an email from them. That looks cool. And, gosh, what else? I'm having a brain fart here.
There's 2 expansions that I have waiting at the store. They emailed me yesterday afternoon, the expansion for Zolkin and the expansion for Suburbia. And we love both those games, so I'm looking forward to getting those and trying those out. So
yeah, I haven't tried either of those actually. But I know my group's actually played Suburbia with the expansion, and they really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
quite a bit. So that's a good one. I'm just looking at the thing here. While that's coming up, I'll answer another question. Do you play pen and paper RPGs? Not currently. I have played them in the past. We played D&D a little bit in college, and it was enjoyable, but just don't have the time. I do enjoy the Pathfinder Adventure card game, which is kind of an RPG, but I think it gives me the most that I need out of a RPG experience. It's there's a disjointed narrative to it that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but I kind of like that because you can kind of fill in the blanks yourself. And that's one thing I don't really like the Overlord or the Dungeon Master in like Descent or RPGs, because like I want to put in the story myself as a group. Oh, that's dumb. Why are we doing this? The story's wrong. Let's do it this other way. And so that's kind of my own fault. I'm just looking. Okay, Alien Uprising looks really cool. That's from Richard Lyons. That's a co-op game. That looks awesome. And what else? Usually it ends up being that all the games on this list, like I usually don't really like any of them, or they aren't as great anyway as the games that we don't know that are coming out. At least that ends up being that way for me. But that one looks really cool. And then Board Game Geek's been really slow. So I'll answer another question. Somebody's trying to wrap their head around $90 for Caverna. What's the most you would pay for a game? I think you can get Caverna cheaper. I would wait online. I think that's MSRP. I don't know though. I'm not sure how that's going to work. What's the most I would pay? I don't know. Depends. Probably less than 100. That's for sure. I don't think I've paid more than that ever. Let's see, what else is going for the new games coming out this year? Yeah, there's not a lot. I don't see a ton there. I mean, they have the Myth and the Journey and those kind of miniature games that are on the top of the list. Those may be fun, but I'm suspicious of those just because they seem like miniatures in a box without rules. What kind of bird? I have a parakeet. You can see it on the videos. Not today, though. If the Dice Tower Showdown and Showdown Nations, would you and Mr. Rotto participate on opposing sides? No, I'd have to play it again. Probably. So, but that's okay. I don't like to argue. I mean, Richard and I usually agree about games, and there's been a few times I think we haven't. Just like with Tom and Lance and all those guys. So, I don't know that I'd need to argue. I do listen to that Dice Tower Showdown. I like it, but I don't necessarily feel like I have to argue about it. I just put the opinion out there and let it sit, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of my brain's getting to the point where it's fried. I think that's all the questions, unless other people have more or you have more.
That's pretty much it. The only other game I can think of coming up here that I kickstarted a long time ago was Gear and Piston, and I'm waiting for a copy of that finally coming. They had real problems getting it from Essen over to here to the States. Apparently they were relying on one company, and that kind of fell through. So, and they haven't been shy about throwing that company under the bus either. So,
I see. Yeah, I've heard of it. I hadn't seen much about it. It's probably why.
that's that board game arena. You can play that You can play it there for free. So,
oh, can you? Oh.
Yeah, and I played it there a lot, and I really enjoyed it. It's like a really fast worker placement, but it has some really kind of mean aspects to it that can make it a lot of fun. Like, oh, you were going to pick first. Oh, not anymore. Now I'm going to get you to pick first. So you can cut line and stuff like that, and steal cards from other people and stuff like that. But it's like you're building a 1910, 1920s jalopy, and you're trying to build it the fastest, and you're trying to sometimes you sacrifice quality for putting it together faster. So you grab these crappy pieces from the salvage yard with these new pieces from the patent office, and it works really well together. I like playing online. It's really I mean, I can play a game there for 10, 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the hard copies are finally here in the States, and we're supposed to be getting them next week or two. I'm hoping to be able to take it to the convention so I can get some good plays out of it.
Yeah, that sounds like a really cool theme. I didn't realize that was the theme of it.
Yeah, that's what's going on. Yeah, you're like building a older jalopy type car. So you gotta have so many wheels, you gotta have a transmission, you gotta have a steering wheel. But however you put it all together, and there's different ways. You can have a gas engine or a steam engine or an electric car.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a very short, but it's kind of some aggressive, screw with each other type aspect that I really like. So,
good deal.
So that's the only one I can think of new coming out. Like you, it always seems to everybody's so eager to turn certain games and they kind of fall flat, and then other games kind of spring up and blow everybody away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Richard here mentioned some others. He said the Gallerist, that looks cool, and Kanban, and that's the guy. I think both of those are from Vital Lacerda, who did Venus and CO2. Definitely looking forward to those. The Kanban's been coming out for like 3 years. We'll see if it comes out this year. Pandemic, they're coming out with a Pandemic dice game, but that looks cool. And Race for the Galaxy dice. I don't know if that's coming out this year. It could be. Pay Dirt and Cubist, I don't know anything about those. I've seen those in Guilds of London. But Patches 3, definitely looking at that. And then Rebels and Rogues is the expansion to Dark Horse, which to me improves the game a substantial amount. But yeah, those are good. And then you're one of the few reviewers who review digital board game versions. How do you see digital changing the hobby? Would you play Convert on a giant touchscreen? No, I'd rather. I would always, even though I review the iPad games, I'd always rather play the real version of the game. The iPad's just something you can do. You get 10 minutes of time and knock it out, or play a quick game. I do like the iPad because you can play online with people that you can't see. I have probably 6 games of Lords of Waterdeep going right now, and I really like that. Because I'm able to play with a friend of mine in Singapore and some other folks over on the East Coast. So I like that aspect of it. But I don't know. I'd still always rather play it in person. I don't know how it'll change anything. We were talking about earlier with the Scotland Yard game that's going to actually use the iPad. I think I'm really excited to see that because I really like that game, and I saw a video on it from Essen from the Board Game Geek Live stuff. And if you go to Board Game Geek, you can check it out. But it looks really interesting how they're going to integrate the iPad. So, okay, last question, then we'll kill it. Is that okay with you? Unless you got a question, Bart.
Sounds good. I got to finish putting all those plants away. So, works for me.
Okay. Do you recommend Mice and Myths as a game with kids only, as a good grown-ups game? I think it's a good grown-ups game. Playing with my group, and it's fun. I really enjoy it. We talk about theme and story. That one is definitely rich with that. And it's very kind of a sort of a simpler Hero Quest. So I think you could play that with anybody.
I've played that once. Yeah, I played that once, and I played it at a board game convention.
Yeah.
And it was not the setting to play it in. Everybody's loud. There's people playing around you and everything. I could see liking that game if you had everybody sitting down and had your own table and you kind of could really get into the story. But there was so much going on around me, and I couldn't get into the story. But I could see the appeal to it, but that time it didn't really blow me away just because I think the setting I was in.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for doing it, Bart.
No problem.
I had fun. It's nice meeting you and stuff. And like I said, if you ever want to play a Few Acres of Snow or something like that on Yucata, shoot me an email.
I will. I will do that.
We'll play it.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it.
Take care of yourself, and I'm sure I'll see you one day down the road.
All right, man.
And everybody that was hanging out, that was fun.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.